Hello book lovers and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Harris and today I'm talking to author Jennifer Geiger. Jennifer Geiger is a mother of 3 grown children and grandmother to 8 as well as 2 great-grandchildren. Born in Kansas, she now lives in Black Lick, Ohio with Jim, her husband of over 30 years. She is an active member of her church where she is involved in several ministries. As a child, Jennifer was known as a storyteller, a habit she continued after marrying and having children of her own. She claims there's something intriguing about interblending words and watch as they paint a picture in the minds of the listener. She was often challenged to write out her stories so others could enjoy. This is what she did in her first book, Witness, a story about life with Jesus, as told through the eyes of the disciple he loved. Accompanying Witness, she completed a companion workbook along with a video that could be used in an 8-session in-depth Bible study. Hello Jennifer, first of all welcome and thank you for coming to talk to me on Book Talk Radio Club.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Jennifer, Witness, the life of Jesus as told through the eyes of the disciple he loved. This disciple was John the Beloved. What kind of man was John and why the title, The Beloved?
Well, John was a man much like any. He was boisterous and often lost his temper. That's one of the reasons why Jesus referred to he and his brother James as the sons of thunder. But he also had a different side, a quiet side. He was gentle and loving, and he knew, in spite of all his flaws and failures, that Jesus' love for him was unconditional. And because of this, 6 times in the book named after him, John makes mention of the love relationship by using the term beloved.
The book takes the reader on a journey in the life of Christ. When did John join with Christ on his journey? At what age?
John was the youngest of the apostles. He was less than 20 at the time of his calling. He was also the youngest son of his father Zebedee, who was a fisherman by trade. He and his older brother James was working on their father's fishing boat when they heard a voice from shore calling their names. It was Jesus, and he was inviting the brothers to drop everything and follow him, and he would take them from being fishers of fish to fishers of men.
I knew you were going to say that.
Naturally.
Tell me about the chapter titled The Background Story. What is the background story?
Well, the background story furnishes the details of the events taking place on a hill outside of Bethlehem. My intent was to place the audience in the scene, right next to the shepherds, so they could feel their fear mixed with anxiety as skies open and angels appear, singing glory to God in the highest, and announcing the birth that night of a Savior.
As a child, you were always known as a storyteller. What was the decision behind telling the story of Christ's life, especially through the eyes of John?
Well, it's because John was called the Beloved. I wanted to know why he considered himself in this way. After all, John walked with Jesus. He knew him firsthand. He was witness to the miracles and heard the teachings, and through his writings, he preserved the stories. So today, we can pick up the Bible and read the details for ourselves. But I wanted to go even deeper and remind my readers that even though John walked with Jesus, which seemed to give him an advantage, we too have an advantage, and it comes when we believe and invite him into our lives.
You completed a companion workbook along with a video. Would you like to tell Book Talk Radio Club's listeners about these?
Oh, I'm delighted to share with your listeners, Claire. Witness is a book that was meant to stand alone, and it does. It's an interesting read for the audience. However, at the suggestion of my publisher when I finished this book, I added an 8-session study guide along with a video introduction for each session.
Sounds like a lovely idea. So how is the workbook used?
Well, the workbook can be used alone for your own personal study, or it can be used in a group setting. There are 45 chapters in Witness, which I broke out into 8 study sessions. Prior to each lesson, the participant is to read the assigned chapters indicated in the workbook and follow by answering the questions that correspond. For a class setting, the answers to our questions are then discussed during the session time.
I bet you enjoyed putting that together, didn't you?
I did. It was very enjoyable.
I can imagine. I love that on your website you have a video of you reading the first chapter of Witness. You're a very good reader, Jennifer. Have you considered an audio book of Witness read by yourself?
Well, it's funny that you should mention that, Claire, because you're the second person in the past week that has suggested I do this, which makes me think I probably need to give that a little more thought.
Yeah, definitely. Witness has been described as a roller coaster of emotions. It seems to me that you have made both Jesus and John more human, as it were, two men that readers can identify with rather than just out of reach, as it were. Was this your intention?
That was my intention precisely, Claire. I wanted my audience to experience Jesus in a more intimate way. I thought placing my readers in the shoes of John, viewing Jesus through the eyes of the disciple he loved, would leave them with a more up-close and personal encounter.
Definitely, because I mean, after all, I'm saying he was just a man. He was a man, and simple as that.
Yes.
You're an active member of your church where you're involved in several ministries. What are these ministries?
Well, I'm involved in our church leadership team, implementing programs to draw our members into a closer relationship with Jesus in order to spread the good news further. I'm a greeter and I work with the financial team. I lead one of the prayer teams at church and head up a couple of our fellowship programs. I also teach our life group classes, one of which is the study on my book, Witness. We've conducted 2 classes on this to date, and we have 2 more starting up in the 1st of June.
Ah, lovely. Let's talk a little bit about you, Jennifer Geiger. So you were born in Kansas, and then as a child you moved to Ohio. Were either of your parents writers or anyone in your family?
Well, just like Dorothy of The Wizard of Oz, I was born in Kansas. My father worked for an oil company, causing several moves before landing in Ohio. Neither of my parents were writers, but my mother always encouraged me to write down my stories. She thought I was good, and I just thought she said that because I was her daughter. Anyway, it wasn't until my younger brother John published a children's book and challenged me to finish my stories that I came out with Witness.
You live in Blacklick, Ohio with your husband Jim. Married over 30 years, you are a mother of 3 grown children and have 8 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. That's just wonderful. What do your grandchildren think of their grandma being an author?
Well, I think at first it was exciting, telling that their grandmother was an author, and they've all been supportive. One of my grandsons is an artist and has even helped me in the media kit for my webpage.
Oh, that's nice.
Bottom line is, I just think that they think of me as grandma, and truthfully, that's enough for me.
As a child, you were known to be a storyteller. What kind of stories did you tell?
Well, for starters, they always involved my audience. Whenever I was asked to tell a story, usually by my children or nieces and nephews and later on my grandchildren, I always asked them to supply me with the characters for my story. I'd ask for names, places, colors, or anything they wanted involved. Then off the top of my head, I would invent a story using their characters. These stories all had a moral ending and usually different, except one that they liked for me to repeat. Each time I told that story, the storyline changed, but the bottom line always remained the same. They seemed to love it.
I love that. Sorry,
excuse me.
Please carry on.
I was going to say, as for me, I loved watching their eyes light up as I worked their suggestions into the storyline. I'm not really sure who enjoyed it more, me or them.
I have a funny feeling it's you.
Yeah, I think it was.
But that's very clever. I love that. I mean, so you got them so involved because they were feeding you the characters. That's wonderful. So I would say that I bet you know who your target audience is for your books.
My targeted audience?
Yeah, you know who it is, but the way you talk, there's so many authors who write a book and don't know who their target audience is, but I know that you know who it is.
Yes, I do. I want someone who has a heart that's open and willing to read and put themselves into a book when they read. I do that myself. I'm almost right there with the characters when
Absolutely.
I read, and that's what I want to do with who reads my books, and it all depends on who I'm writing to what I say and how I want them to react. My children and grandchildren, they lit up when they heard their names used in a story or something that they gave me to use. They loved it.
I bet they did. You state on your website that there's something intriguing about putting a group of words together, then watch as they paint a picture in the minds of the listener. I just love that, Jennifer. Those are the words of a good author, a good storyteller. To be able to paint a picture with words is definitely a gift. So let's go back to Witness. Congratulations. I see you're getting some great reviews for Witness, including Witness is a book that will take you on a journey in the life of Christ as seen through the eyes of John the Beloved. Jennifer Geiger has written this book in such a way that the reader gets caught up in the events as told in the scriptures as she relates what happened from a human perspective. Be prepared for a roller coaster of emotions. And in Witness, Jennifer Geiger simplifies John's original gospel. She allows the reader to see the life and message of Jesus Christ through the eyes of his cousin. As John progresses in his understanding as a student, servant, apostle and prophet, our understanding also expands and deepens. I'm looking forward to talking to you about your second book, Patmos. This is Join the Apostle John, the disciple Jesus loved, as he relates his struggles while banished on the isle of Patmos. Written to place the reader into John's shoes, Patmos walks you through his daily routines, transporting you into the future, where it is revealed what might have transpired within the revelation of God. I really am looking forward to talking to you about that. So what's up next for you on the writing front, Jennifer?
Well, with Patmos completed and Witness out too, I'm switching gears a bit, and I'm going to be finalizing touches on a children's book. That one storyline I told you I like to give over and over to my kids because they would ask about it. I've got that book finished. I'm working with someone to do illustrations now, and I'm hoping that might come out by the end of the year.
Oh, fabulous. That's wonderful. So lastly, where can people purchase Witness?
Witness can be purchased from Amazon or by clicking on the bookstore link found on my website. If they go to JenniferGeigerAuthor.com, they can click on the links there.
Lovely. All right, well, thank you, Jennifer. Please come back on Book Talk Radio Club again. I'd love to talk to you and hear more. In the meantime, good luck for the future, and thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Lovely to speak to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Claire, for having me. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
You too.